Most new entrepreneurs don't fail because their idea is bad. They fail because they step on the same landmines every single time. I've stepped on more than my fair share of those landmines, and today I want to help you avoid them. We're talking about the early mistakes that can sink your business before it even has a chance to grow, and how to dodge them. Today I've got with me ChatGPT, and this will be a interesting first for me. I'm using ChatGPT as an interviewer, and I'm sure you will find this interesting as well.
So Lionel, let's get straight into it. What's one thing you were absolutely sure you understood when you started your business, but later realized you'd completely underestimated?
Well, I think I made the same mistake as pretty much every new entrepreneur, new business owner, and that is thinking that I have the skills to do this thing that I'm setting out to do, and it's about doing the work and invoicing customers, and that's the start and end of it. But what most entrepreneurs don't realize, or what most small business owners don't realize, is that once the business actually gets going, there's so much more that goes on. And if you don't know how to do all the other things in the business, you're going to run into a problem. You're going to run into trouble with the revenue collector, or SARS, and you need to make sure that all of these things in the business are taken care of. And if you can't do it yourself, you need to get people who can do it. Do barter trade if you need to, if you can't afford it initially. But you have to make sure that everything in the business is taken care of, because otherwise it's going to fall on you like a mountain, and you'll be inundated and you won't get to everything, and you're going to burn out.
That's such a common trap, thinking the business is just the thing you do and the invoices you send, when in reality, that's maybe 20% of it. So let me ask you, when that mountain first started to fall on you, what was the one part of running the business that caught you completely off guard?
Well, that's a difficult question because it was so long ago. um, well, we really started getting busy a number of years ago, and the admin and keeping track of everything, and I very soon realized that it's actually essential to, especially if you're a small business, one or two people running the company, and you have massive amounts of customers, or at least more than you expected, it becomes really important to automate as much of the business as you can. We're a recurring service company. We're an internet service provider, and billing automation is extremely important. Automating your capturing of supplier invoices is extremely important, because it's something that really keeps you busy for a long time. So automation was a key thing for me, and making sure that your customers, it's not just your internal processes, but the customer process as well. If you can, automate that as far as you can. Your sign up process, whatever you do, just make sure that as little of that work falls on you. You don't need to do all of the work. The customer can do some of the work as well. Your accountant can do some of the work. You can get systems that can do some of the work. But don't try and do everything yourself, because that essentially is going to just be a huge mountain on top of you, and you won't be able to get out of it.
That's a great point. And I think a lot of new entrepreneurs resist automation at first because they see it as an extra cost instead of an investment. So here's the follow-up. If you had embraced automation from day one, How do you think your early years in business would have been different?
Well, actually, I did embrace automation from the very, very start. The moment that I realized that we are going into a direction where we are setting ourselves up for volumes of customers, I just said we need to automate as far as possible. So yeah, I don't think I've ever been in that position where all of these things were just a big mountain on top of me. But we definitely were in a situation where there was a lot of things that needed to be done, and I had to change the ways in which I initially started doing them because I realized that this is inefficient. There is better, more efficient ways of doing it, and finding the systems and the methods to automate those tasks and to improve on how we do them and implement that and make sure that we keep on improving so that while the customers base might be growing potentially exponentially, we don't get stuck in a position where the workload grows exponentially. You need to sign up a customer, do the paperwork, and then the paperwork is done and the rest runs automatically. If you don't do it that way, again, becomes a mountain and it just stays on top of you.
So, in a way, you dodged one of the biggest early pitfalls by spotting that need for automation early. But it sounds like the real lesson was staying willing to keep improving those systems as the business grew, instead of thinking, right, we've automated, we're done. That brings me to another common trap for new entrepreneurs: planning. A lot of people either don't plan enough or overplan to the point of paralysis. Where do you think the sweet spot really is?
Yeah, I've always been like a dive head first in type of person. So if I see something I want to do, I'll figure out most of the details in my head. When I'm comfortable with the details, I'll get into it and I'll start doing it. But I'm also a procrastinator, so I will try and put it off as long as I can. Um, Probably for the fear of failing or the unknown or whatever, and then one day you get to a point where you can no longer put it off and you have to do it.
So that's interesting. You're naturally a leap first, think on the fly entrepreneur, but you also wrestle with procrastination until the pressure forces action. Let me push you on that. Some people would say that's risky because it leaves too much to chance. How do you make sure that approach doesn't blow up in your face?
I think that's where the procrastination comes in. It allows me time to really think things over, and I generally don't get into something if I don't have most of the details and semantics figured out. But you're absolutely right. I mean, it is a huge risk to just go in and do something if you don't know what exactly is going to happen. So I want to say the big thing that happened to us in, I think, around 2021, 2022, where we lost a big portion of business, or, well, we actually had to change the way in which we operated the company in order to keep the business. And I didn't have a lot of experience in planning, but what I knew was that we're going to move into a direction where money is going to become a problem. I knew that what we were going to do was going to cause us a financial deficit on a monthly basis, and I just said, you know what, you can go and sit and plan out this thing, but I know which way it's going to go. It's if we don't do anything, we're going to die. If we do something, then we stand a chance. And I did work with my father-in-law a little bit on figuring out how much time we needed in order to get the business to a profitable point after taking that decision. And we figured out it's going to take about 3 years. And how accurate that was, I don't know. It's just over 3 years, and it looks better now. But um, you know, you some people really do overplan and overthink things, and they never get to the point of taking action. But I actually think that that is how those people's minds work. They have to plan out everything in fine detail. But you don't need to know every last detail. Some things are in any case variable. So even if you go and plan for them, they might change later. So you need to get down certain details like how many customers do I need, what's going to be my overhead, how are my variable costs going to scale, and how will my fixed costs scale, because fixed costs are only fixed for so long, and then at some point you're going to have to increase on those fixed costs. So you need to figure out those details. Just a general, I almost want to say a rough roadmap of where things are going. Because if you don't have that picture, then you don't have enough to really operate and know whether this thing is going to be profitable or not. So you need to be at least at that point. But anything beyond that, um, you know, that might be a little bit too much. But you need to know at least the first year where are we going to be, and then maybe 3 years, and the rest, because you need to gather information first anyway. So the rest you will figure out along the way. But your first year and the first 3 years, I think those are the two things that you need to figure out.
That makes sense. So your approach is basically get the core numbers and direction locked in, accept that some variables will change, and move forward rather than waiting for a perfect plan that will never actually exist. Let's talk about another early pitfall, mixing personal and business finances. Why do you think so many entrepreneurs blur that line? And what's the hidden danger they often don't see until it's too late?
Yeah, I actually think a lot of entrepreneurs fall into this trap because when you're a startup, generally there's not a lot of money in the business, and it depends on how you started the business. If you started with investor capital, or you got some sort of loan, then typically you have provisions for salaries and stuff like that. But if you started your business like I did from scratch, no investor funding, no nothing, then you need to eat, and you need to somehow sustain yourself and have some sort of life while the business gets up to speed. So yeah, I think most business owners or most entrepreneurs will make that mistake in that way, um, and then the lines get blurred between the business finances. But there's another thing as well. It's like I think many entrepreneurs, or not many, but some of the less experienced entrepreneurs might say that, well, it's my business, so it's my money, and that's absolute crap. I mean, that's not how it works. The business's money is the business's money. The profit in the business is yours, but the profit in the business is only yours once it has been declared a profit at the end of the financial year. Um, so, you can't just take out of the business, and I don't even think that SARS is going to like you for doing that in any case. Um, and there's tax implications if you do that, because you need to pay tax on whatever you take out of the business. So you can't live out of the business. The business is not your piggy bank. It is a business, and the money that you get from the business is going to have to be salary and dividends. And anything more is wrong. You can't do that. It's bad business practice. You are taking money away from the business, which the business could have used to expand and to improve. And if you're able to build the business and reinvest and get the business to a point where it's really profitable, isn't that going to be better for you than just taking whatever you need now? I mean, that's why we start businesses. We want to make profit. So start the business, make profit, and then take the profit and live off that. Because that's essentially why we start businesses. We want to make money.
Looking back, was there a time when not asking for help early enough turned a small problem into a big one? And if so, what would have happened if you'd acted sooner?
Yes, well, I mean, that's the whole reason why I'm sitting where I'm sitting is because we went through a difficult time, and we nearly lost everything because of another business who moved into an area where we operated, and we had to, make the decision whether we just give up all our clients or if we join forces with these guys. And but then we'd lose a lot of money because we were making a profit, I think greater than 50 or 60% GP, and the new model would have brought us down to about 20%, while adding a lot of overheads onto the business that we were really not prepared for. Um, so, yeah, and I knew about this happening for at least 8 months beforehand. Um, but I was inexperienced and I don't have a big professional network. And because of that, I think I didn't have the ability and the know-how to get help and to be able to better plan these things out and act sooner. But if I can change that time, then I would definitely get help in the business sooner. Because what happened after that was we actually got into debt. The business was debt free. We had zero debt. Um, and just because I waited too long, I mean, we're still here, but now the business is in debt. No investor really wants to touch the business. Where if I had made the decision sooner, and if I had the know-how, we probably would have been able to get investors, and to be in a much different, much better position than we were for the last 3 years.
That's a powerful example. And it really shows how delaying that call for help doesn't just cost you money in the moment, it shapes the entire trajectory of the business for years after. Let's bring it to the final question for this episode. When you were starting out, did you think about your own health as part of your business plan? Or was that something you only realized when things started going wrong? And do you think early stage entrepreneurs can actually afford to slow down for self care?
That's a very good question. Yeah, so I mean, in the beginning, I never really thought that the business was going to put the amount of stress on me that it did. Um, when we started up, we didn't have a lot of money, and yes, it was stressful. I had financial issues. I had to put myself in debt review, but I was always able to pay with all the business suppliers. So in that sense, we were fine. For ourselves, we went hungry and all of that, but I mean that's to be expected of a startup business. But yeah, I mean, I definitely didn't have any idea of self-care in those or in that time. And I don't think a lot of new business owners actually do. Um, and it is important. I only later figured that out. Now, maybe in the last 2 years, I really realized what the importance of personal well-being and mental well-being is. Because if you're not in tip-top shape, you're not able to look after your business, and your business won't be in tip-top shape either. Now, can you really creatively and constructively resolve a problem and tackle an issue if you're not your 100%? Typically, if you're in such a stressful situation, you want to get out of it, you want to distance yourself from it, and that in itself means that you're no longer interested in solving this problem because this problem is not making you feel nice. So you just you want to get rid of it, and So it's definitely a not, I think, something that's on a lot of entrepreneurs' radars. But can you repeat the last part of the question, because I found that a very interesting question.
Sure. The last part was, do you think early stage entrepreneurs can actually afford to slow down for self-care? Or is it one of those things you just have to sacrifice in the beginning?
Yeah, I think that's something you have to sacrifice. When the business is starting up, things are new, and I think you're a lot more energized for the business. So probably going to take a lot more to get you down in any way. But yeah, I mean, early stage entrepreneurs, you can't really afford to take a break. I mean, if you take a break, if you stand back, who's going to drive this new venture of yours? There's a lot to be done in a new business. And I'm not talking about franchises. Franchises sort of have a momentum behind them, that yes, it is stressful, but you've got the brand name and a huge marketing budget and all of those things, and it's just nice, you know. Well, maybe not all nice. I think some people won't like me for saying that, but yeah, it's if you're starting your own business, there's a lot more stress and uncertainty, and you don't know if things are going to work, and you really should be taking a break. But whether you can actually afford to take a break, that's a question that remains. But you have to, even if it's just for a weekend, or you need to take a break. You need to get away from it and just clear your mind, and when you get back, you'll be fresh again. Just because you feel that you're okay and you can go on and things will be all right doesn't mean you should. The business is not going to fall flat if you're away on a Saturday and Sunday. And just be responsible, and make sure that you look after yourself, because if you don't, you're not going to be able to build the business that you want.
That's a strong way to close. It's honest about the grind, but it still gives permission for entrepreneurs to step back, even briefly, so they don't burn themselves out before the business even has a chance.
Think about which of these mistakes you might be making right now and fix one of them before the week is out. If this helped, then please stick around. We've got more hard-earned lessons coming your way.